The pace of change is accelerating in every industry: financial services, telecommunications, media, retail, automotive, healthcare, manufacturing, education. All are facing unprecedented change and potential opportunity in the years ahead. Silicon Valley is playing a leading role globally as all industries rapidly evolve and become more digitized.
We designed a unique approach to innovation and growth, one that brings together expertise from corporate innovation, big data, design thinking, applying lean startup principles to the enterprise, business model innovation, organizational change, storytelling. And we believe all these components must come together in very powerful ways to ultimately change organizations. It's hands-on, experiential, and unconventional. No more innovation theater. In this brief video, you'll see our lab faculty and advisors share points of view and expertise on how to make change stick in large organizations.
What you're dealing with is trying to deal with the mostly unknown opportunities, the unknown markets, the unknown channels, the unknown partners. And that's a different discipline that many companies had in their beginning, because by definition all these large great companies today weren't born that way. And it's something that's lost over time. And what we look at is ways of reinvigorating and reinstituting some of those lost opportunities into large organizations.
Corporations are in a bind because they need to address two conflicting goals. First, they need to continue executing at a time when their business models are being disrupted faster than ever before. Second, they need to start disrupting themselves as they come to realize that they cannot achieve big gains by tackling efficiencies and productivity improvements.
EAMP stands for Email, 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 Meeting, PowerPoint. The way we work frees us from doing too much EAMPing. We sit around a team table together. We make our work visual and visible for one another. We start in analog before we make our content digital. We pitch early and often to one another. And ultimately, we're really driven by empathy for users, for the companies we work for, and for one another. And this has proven to be a really effective way of doing innovation work that we call working differently.
Innovation involves unknowns. Unknowns involve risks. Big companies typically avoid risk. So how do you really innovate?
What's amazing for me is how Silicon Valley places big bets on youth. In fact, young people have to slowly climb up these corporate ladders, and your age determines your promotion opportunities. Do you honestly think big incumbents can innovate and truly win the race against fast-moving startups if they stick to their old habits? We at 650 Labs don't think so. We think giving young people a real chance and a ton of responsibility and flexibility, that's a game changer. And that's what we also talk about at the labs.
So we're all familiar with the phrase software is eating the world. So what's needed is a new approach to build systems quickly in an environment where time is the enemy. Businesses no longer have the opportunity or the luxury to roll systems out over 1 to 2 years and hope that it works. Time is against them, and what's more, the Big Bang approach of system implementation simply just doesn't work. In the lab, we have an approach that we figure out what to build, how to build it, how to sequence it, and actually how to get it to market to maximize impact and reduce risk. No more Big Bang.
Everything from cryptocurrencies to big data to mobile, 3D printing, all of these different technologies are disrupting the way that business is done. And the assumptions that have been driving business are largely outdated. It's time to challenge them, disrupt them. Assumptions are the way that we understand our customers. They're the windows into their lives. And sometimes we just need to wipe off those windows. The world out there is changing.
We're really fortunate here in Silicon Valley to have the diverse ecosystem that we have, from VCs to startups to entrepreneurs to incubators and accelerators and multinationals. For large corporations, we believe there's a lot more you can do besides just speed dating startups. You can look at different sectors. So if you're in retail, you might want to look into financial innovation. If you're in mobile innovation, you might want to look cross-sector into commerce. With over 500 multinationals here in the Valley, we feel it's important for our innovation lab to help corporations keep a pulse on the Valley, identify this white space between the market verticals to help us identify where the opportunity really lies.
The Internet of Things is a relatively new description of what's happening in our world. But what it truly means is that almost every device that we know of today is going to be connected to the Internet. There are still no protections right now on corporate internets and corporate extranets and corporate cloud computing enterprises to protect against these new attack vectors that are brought about by the Internet of Things. You have to take a far larger role in protecting the privacy of your consumer.
This is a great time for business and big data. There's already a widespread understanding of the value of big data, plenty of great use cases, understand your customer, understand logistics, understand supply chain. Yet in the real world, the big question is, what is that middle step? What is step 2? So that's where we think data strategy comes in, answering the question about how you go from your data, what your business does, the collection of problems that you've got, towards an actionable roadmap that determines what you're actually going to build out to get business value from the data.
Change is hard. Change is messy. Innovation isn't a department or specific team, it's a culture. Big companies are built for stability and predictability. Innovation and change are the opposite of that. The question becomes, can you evolve your organizational capabilities to compete in a world of ever faster change?
Leadership, teams, culture, talent really matter in Silicon Valley. Great teams with an average technology will always trump average teams with fantastic technology. We're learning so much about leadership, culture, and talent here in Silicon Valley. It's a terrific time to be here. We're going to take time to go to the really core of your own vision. Leadership starts at the very top. We need to get inside your head and your heart, understand where you're going and what you want to do. And in the labs, we will work with you to get very clear about your vision, your passion, your leadership, and how you're going to show up in the world. We'll then talk about and work through the design of your company and your culture.
Silicon Valley is full of good ideas, but the challenge people have is relying on their PowerPoint or using buzzwords like disruptive or ubiquitous to describe who they are. But how do you tell a compelling story? In order to do that, you really have to have the human element. You have to show how your innovation is going to solve someone's big, hairy problem. And that requires detail and description and making sure that you are showing, not telling. If you do that, then you have a shot at helping to accelerate the buy-in that you get from a potential partner or an investor or a customer.
So being from Denmark and working with executives from many countries, I know how hard it is to communicate the nuances of big strategic ideas. It takes work and it takes a lot of practice. What we see a lot are executives trying to communicate big ideas who sprinkle in every buzzword they can think of, only to fail utterly to actually get across the intended message. So it's not about buzzword compliant presentations. It's about communicating with your target audiences in a way that facilitates deep understanding, quick decision making, alignment, and momentum behind a strategic initiative.
Welcome to Silicon Valley, where innovation happens. This isn't the Wild West. This is more like Florence in 1450. If you weren't in Florence, you weren't part of the Renaissance. And the Renaissance is happening here in Silicon Valley today in 2015. Venture capitalists are fueling this innovation, and they're fueling on a daily basis. And if they're good, 1 out of 10 succeeds. And if they're really good, 1 out of 20 returns the fund. So no matter what industry you're in, if innovation is important to you, you need to be here. In 1979, it was said, adapt or die. Never has it been more relevant than today. In 2015, Silicon Valley.
We work with large organizations to help them fundamentally transform their business. The rate of change coming at industries internationally is at a breakneck speed, and we see that pace increasing. We think Silicon Valley is a lens to the future, and we're seeing large organizations from throughout the world come here and learn. It's open and it's accessible, and we're seeing ways to tap into it that we haven't seen prior.
Industries globally are rapidly changing. The old rules don't apply anymore. Silicon Valley is a lens to the future. Join us for a journey to transform your company.